The Cheating Death Podcast is a comedy podcast that provides objective information into anything and everything under the sun. You may not disagree or agree with us, and that is your prerogative. Listener discretion is advised. On today's episode of the Cheating Death Podcast, dear listeners, we take our first dive into Nova and Cyraxx, two very evil, very felonious, and very awful people that the internet lolcow community has been trying to banish for eons due to the fact that their local law enforcement refused to do much of anything regarding their illicit crimes. We also provide you with an all-new Annihilation Announcement, an all-new joke of the episode, and much, much more. So, dear listener, grab yourself a coffee, put your feet up, and grab yourself a warm blanket, and let us tell you how you can cheat death. This is your news anchor, the Cleric of Chaos, and this is your Annihilation Announcement. As you may have noticed, the topic and content of this episode is related to two very evil, two very malicious, and two very dangerous people when it comes to involving the lives of minors and individuals in whom are vulnerable. Yes, we are talking about Cyraxx and Nova today. One of the primary reasons why these two and why the type of behavior that they participate in and condone are so dangerous is because where they happen to be, both in Idaho and in Ohio, law enforcement seems to be very, 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 very laid back in their approach. So, lovely citizens and concerned people all across America and the world are taking it on themselves to ensure that they are held accountable for their actions. Both Cyraxx and Nova have completed a litany of crimes on a federal and a state level involving interstate communication, as well as attempting to solicit information from minors. Both Cyraxx and Nova have been caught numerous times, and we as a society are facing an apocalypse that none of us ever thought that we would face. The apocalypse, the annihilation of decency, of morality, of complete autonomy and accountability. We here at the Cheating Death Podcast and the host simply cannot allow that to happen. So in addition to the already strong lolcow commentators and in the lolcow commentary community, we thank you for your work, and hopefully one day justice will be served. This is your news anchor, the Cleric of Chaos, and this is your Annihilation Announcement.
Willkommen, meine Freunde. Guten Morgen, guten Tag und eine gute Nacht. Ist deine Reisende, deine Ausländer, deine Schauspieler und deine Allesfresser. Bist du traurig? Komm mit mir. Ich bin deine Cleric of Chaos. And on today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, we get into the conspiracy surrounding Nova Online and Cyraxx, otherwise known as Patrick Smith, otherwise known as Chance Wilkins. The reality behind these two is not necessarily that there is a conspiracy surrounding them specifically, but it is that they are the ones putting forth the reasons the conspiracy exists. We begin with Nova Online. Nova Online was born Gabriel Gage on the 8th of June 2004 to a mother and father. His father has since passed away, as has his uncle Drew. He lives with his mother in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and he has an absolute mountain of trash tenants in his house along with him. Yes, you see, ladies and gentlemen, Nova Online started to receive popularity around 2021-2022 with a Wingstop review where he very boringly and uninterestingly provided his insight on Wingstop flavors. This led to him going viral on TikTok in 2022 and subsequently creating his online presence even further. It was throughout this time that Nova Online was caught by several different sting groups communicating with minors, wearing diapers, wearing pacifiers, going on late-night Discord calls with 14 and 15-year-old girls, talking to them like they were babies and wanting them to talk to him like they were his mother. He has also been caught numerous times on lolcow commentator channels threatening death with people who don't agree with him or are just calling him out and trying to hold him accountable. Gabriel Gage is one of the individuals in whom is part of the lolcow community, not necessarily just because of the content that he attempts to create, but because of the controversy that he creates with each and every single attempt at trying to branch out. This man is a man-child. Just because he is 21 years old does not mean that he is held to a lower standard than other humans who are in the same boat. This man is an absolute goddamn pitiful piece of human petulance. He yells at his mother. He abuses her. He does absolutely nothing but post on TikTok and stream games and buy expensive stuff, all for it to never be used. In recent videos provided by the Chin Universe, provided by Antimatter Morty, provided by Mirror Menace, provided by Swampy D, provided by the Greasy Middle Finger, another excellent channel, and many, many more, it has been quite evident that even though it is the deep part of winter and it is cold literally almost everywhere in North America with the exception of like Texas and Florida, that Nova Online has been releasing TikToks with very boring food reviews, but also revealing that he has a ton of bugs that share his domicile. He has a ton of little insect friends that decide to make him feel a little better because he cannot get a girlfriend or a partner because he is too creepy. He also has this very bizarre individual, whether they are a troll, a buddy troll, or an actual friend to Nova, called Alice. They run a server where they provide information and, let's just say, controversial feedback on people who want to hold Nova accountable. This Alice character is nothing more than a spreader of misinformation, a perpetuator of petulance, and an absolutely horrible human being if what they are doing is not part of a grander design to hold Nova accountable. Nova has also had several Discord servers shut down because he refuses to stop talking explicitly to minors. Nova Online refuses to take accountability for any of his actions, and it is the opinion of the Cheating Death podcast and of your host personally that Nova Online is one of the worst human beings in the entire state of Idaho. He stalks women. He behaves like a child when he is rejected. He does not have the capacity to understand that he is the problem because he chooses not to have the capacity to understand that. Understand, dear listeners, that Nova Online is not a good person. Nova Online is not a nice human being. He is not a misunderstood little man. He is a monster. He is an absolute brat of a soul who has never had to face accountability for anything in his life, and now that there is pushback on his creepy behavior, he cannot stand it. He'll post and he'll brag, and he will post on another commentator's channel a bunch of ridiculous acronyms that nobody except for him understands, and then an hour later he'll post on TikTok or on Instagram about how his mental health is poor, how everybody hates him. Yeah, no shit, Nova. Everybody hates you because you're a piece of shit. You offer nothing to society. You are an irredeemable source of carbon. You are not capable of rehabilitation, and the only way that you will ever benefit benefit society is if your corpse is donated to science. We now dive into the main portion of the program, and we begin to dig into the thesaurus, the dictionary, the volume, the encyclopedia that is Cyraxx. Cyraxx was born Patrick Smith on the 20th of September, 1990, to a woman named Connie and to a man named Rupel. Now, what is known about Cyraxx's earlier years is that Connie, being a mentally unstable drug addict, burned herself to death in a house, and Rupel is also a convicted sex offender, having assaulted a 14-year-old girl on a bike path when Patrick was a child. Patrick Smith, more commonly known by the internet as Chance Wilkins, received the name Chance Wilkins because Sally renamed him Chance at 6 years old and gave him the last name Wilkins at 8 years old when she was married to Gordon Wilkins, a man who was very briefly part of Cyraxx's life, a military man, an excellent service member. And we here at the podcast want to thank Gordon for his service to the United States of America. But it is during this time that the only reason Patrick has the name Wilkins is because Sally, who is actually his grandmother, not his mother, thought that it would be a better idea for him to have hopefully a better life. As you can see, it has not panned out that way. Throughout Cyraxx's childhood, it was pretty clear and evident that he displayed developmental as well as sociological issues, significant delays, and lack of comprehension on even the most rudimentary of tasks. Cyraxx spent 9 years in high school before getting kicked out because he stalked a teacher and tried to invade their home, and he tried to blow up their social media and just would not stop contacting them. So not only did this dude not graduate high school after 9 years, but he was also such a disaster in that facility that they had to ensure that future preventive measures were taken. Cyraxx is also a man who is so well known by his local police department in Akron, Ohio, that they had to move a bus stop from his house because he would not stop going outside and talking to people and trying to encourage them to hang out with him or to try to encourage them to go into his house with him. When a city moves a bus stop because they are worried that you are going to hurt people, it is a sign that you are a terrible, terrible person. In 2012, Patrick Smith, Chance Wilkins, Cyraxx, was arrested and charged with strangling his grandmother, Sally Wilkins, after she told him he could not walk all the way to the state of Kansas to meet an online girlfriend, Catfish, that he had met. And so he took this time to decide that, oh, well, you know what, Sally, I'm just going to choke it real good here. And after that, he was sent to jail. He was booked, charged, and then said nothing took care of it. Nothing changed. And taking care of the situation in and of itself, it was revealed that Sally decided not to follow through with conviction. Now you fast forward from 2012 all the way through to 2020, and between 2012 and 2020, Cyraxx had a very storied history of trying to reach out to people who were not mentally capable of taking care of themselves, who were easily manipulatable, who were easily distracted, and people who were part of the most vulnerable members of our society. From 2012 to 2020, Cyraxx would go through a litany of these catfish girlfriends, these fake troll girlfriends, and even more in between. But when people really started picking up on Cyraxx, and we're not talking about necessarily just the Music Biz Marty days or anything else, but when people really started picking up on him after he strangled Sally, and there was a little bit of a paper trail being created on him through Kiwi Farms and through other troll websites like 4chan, it was pretty clear that the amount of time that this guy spent on the internet recording video after video, believing and pretending that he is this insanely talented rock star, it did not just begin after the Music Biz Marty and after the Mass Troll Mafia incidents. No. Because 2018, 2019 would see a new version of Cyraxx. Yes, a brand new version of the man, the myth, the monster. Because in 2018, 2019, Cyraxx would continue to contact individuals who were not necessarily of sound mind. There was Abby, there was Kira, there was Taylor, and there were quite a few people, or more than one Heather. There was Cassandra most recently. But over the years, Cyraxx had this history of also engaging in illegal and illicit actions to which he still denies to this day. He sexually assaulted a blind individual by the name of William, or more colloquially referred to as Billy or Blind Billy. And though he was not charged, Billy has provided testimony that has confirmed that Cyraxx assaulted him when they were younger. Cyraxx has also had a very long history of threatening people's lives when they troll him. They provide him with more rage than what he is capable of compartmentalizing, and he quote-unquote raxes out. This really began to take hold after he was caught in a sting by Mass Troll Mafia, Miss Kate Peters, when Cyraxx was talking to who he believed was a 15-year-old girl, and he sent illicit pictures and videos of himself, and Kate decided to put this sting information online. That was when other people started to get involved. The legends known as Music Biz Marty, the legends known as CVG, William Glory Hole, and Southern Harlot. That was around the time when they started to really take action and really started to do whatever they possibly could to limit the goblin's reach and his presence. If you are aware of Cyraxx on any level at all, one of the things that you will know him for is for his refusal to accept that he is not a musician, that he is not a rock star, that he is not a god. William, Southern, CVG, McGillicuddy, McGrubba, all of the lovely content creators, Major Chilla, Mayor Menace, Antimatter Morty, Dr. Root Thorn, so many have pointed out that when people make a video on Cyraxx and Cyraxx disagrees with it, it all emanates from these original interactions with William, with Southern Harlot, with CVG. His rage is such that he cannot be wrong. He cannot look bad. And if you succeed in holding him accountable for actions that he should be holding himself accountable for, then not only will he not let you speak, but he will also just release a tirade of slurs that will make even a sailor blush. Cyraxx, overall, Chance Wilkins, Patrick Smith, whatever the fuck you want to call him, I like to call him piece of shit, but he is not one of these types of people who is capable of being reasoned with. He is not capable of listening to, understanding, identifying, and being able to confirm or put precedence on somebody else's view. The man is stuck in an echo chamber of his own creation. Cyraxx is a criminal. He is a PDF file. He has been caught numerous times attempting to engage explicitly with children. Each relationship he gets into where the woman has a child or two, he will immediately try to become a father to them in the grossest and most disgusting way possible. And this is a man who also has the absolute worst bacteria-ridden mouth the podcast and most people have ever seen. He has so many physiological and psychiatric issues, yet he goes on this platform every day and posts videos about how he is a god and how he is untouchable and how he is going to get everyone arrested and put into jail for 25 to fucking 30 years or 25 to life. Well, the Goblin has apparently stopped making videos since pissing off libs of TikTok. and since pissing off pretty much the entire world when he trended at number 5 on Twitter when he threatened death on federal law enforcement, immigration and customs enforcement agents. Even though he doesn't know what ICE is, it doesn't change the fact that he threatened death on federal government agents, which is, if you're in America, that's a good old big no-no. But it appears Sally and Ed understand the severity of the situation, and they are doing what they can to keep the goblin off the internet for now. So a lot of the commentator channels have made sure that they are keeping people aware, and they're keeping people abreast of the absolute mountain of atrocities that Cyraxx has committed. Now, this episode will more than likely be the first part in a multi-episode series covering both Nova, Cyraxx, and other conspiracies revolving around the lolcows. But the conspiracy here isn't necessarily the people themselves. The conspiracy is the lack of law enforcement intervention, the fact that hundreds of thousands of people have reached out to the FBI, to Akron PD, to Idaho police, to anyone and everywhere in between, and yet it seems that action is still being put into place. It is taking a tectonic plate level of time to address and analyze this. So we can only hope that throughout the course of time that Cyraxx and Nova are held accountable in a court of their peers for their crimes. Because let's just put this into perspective. If you were a father or a mother and your child was contacted by somebody like Cyraxx or Nova, speaking from the podcast perspective, the podcast would have a very difficult time leaving that person above ground and not under 6 feet. We can only imagine how you would feel if one of these types of people contacted your children and tried to illicitly communicate with them. So, dear listener, understand this. Nova is an absolutely evil, fat little man who will never change, who will never grow, who will never, ever, ever understand that he is not the main character. And Cyraxx is a constant source of controversy and of calamity. He is an evil criminal. He needs to be stopped. He offers nothing to society. He never will offer anything to society. And as the lolcow dentist said, which, by the way, you guys need to give him a subscribe. Check him out over at lolcow hygienist. He said the guy is maybe 3 to 5 years max. There is so much bacteria and there's so much disease in his body that he just pretends isn't there. One day, he will face the consequences of his actions, and Cyraxx and Nova will ultimately understand that no one escapes this earth alive, and you will face penance for everything. Absolutely everything that you have done within the realm of this existence. How that looks for you, I don't know, but just know that you will not escape judgment. Dear listeners, did you enjoy our little brief look into Nova and Cyraxx? Send us some feedback at thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com, or if there's anything else on Cyraxx and Nova specifically you would like us to cover, keeping in mind that this is going to be an ongoing episodic series. This is part 1. If there is another cow or if there is another channel that you want us to cover, comment below, like, share, and subscribe, and be well. Take care of yourself. Don't touch the poo. Stay away from the goblin, and be safe.
Dear listeners, at the top of the program, we advised you that we'd be providing you with an all-new top 5 list, and since we're covering both Cyraxx and Nova, what better way to provide a top 5 list than our top 5 Xbox games? Coming in at number 5, we have Halo 3. Coming in at number 4, we have Gun. Coming in at number 3, we have Gears of War. Coming in at number 2, we have Fallout New Vegas. And coming in at number 1, oh, you know it. You know that it's Forza. What are your favorite Xbox games? Email us at thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com. And fuck you, Cyraxx. Today's joke is brought to you by the Cleric of Chaos. Turns out they had a break-in at the wig factory the other day. According to reports, the police are combing the area. Cyraxx and Nova, 2 of the absolute worst people to perpetuate the internet with respect to trying to infiltrate places they should not be infiltrating in a very, very, very long time. To those in the proverbial lolcow commentary community, you are very well aware that there are tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of lolcows. You take out a Cyraxx, you take out a Nova, and 10 more of them come into their place to replace them. However, that does not mean that we should stop holding them accountable on any level, as many people should be aware of these two as humanly possible. We want to thank Chin Universe. We also want to thank Solidus Nova. We also want to thank Mare Menace, Major Chilla, Antimatter Morty, Swampy D, McGrubba, McGillicuddy, and we have so many more lolcow commentators to thank for the Cyraxx and the Nova dedication. We would also like to thank Goblin Records, William Gloryhole, Southern Harlot, Cassandra Sikora, and Rumble and YouTube for keeping Cyraxx off of the platform. For those in whom are aware of both Nova and Cyraxx, and who continue to make their lives as interesting as humanly possible, the Cheating Death Podcast supports your work, and we are grateful that you are holding these people accountable. Thank you for tuning in today. Take care of yourselves and each other. The Cheating Death Podcast is brought to you by Nach dem Leben, CRTVC, Cleric of Chaos, and where you may find all of your podcasts on all platforms. We'd like to thank Hunter Collins for the $25 donation through Buy Me a Coffee to support the program. Hunter, thank you. You are a tremendous listener and an outstanding soul. If you would like to support the program, you may do so at the links in the episode's description and in the podcast description as well. If you or anyone you know is experiencing psychiatric duress, domestic disturbances, or having a really rough time with Veterans Affairs, or anything in their lives, we have a whole litany of support numbers in the episode's description and the podcast description as well. If you're looking at adopting a playful puppy or a cute kitten, please visit your local animal adoption rescue center. And dear listener, life is hard, so try not to be too hard on yourself. Remember, we're pulling for you. We're all in this together.